What's up YouTube, this is Slaan here from Northern Lan, and this is Project Slaanhatten, the version 0.5.1. It's getting more of a mouthful every video. Terraforming edition for Alpha 15. Now, Alpha 15 has just dropped today at the time of recording. So what I've quickly done is wrapped everything up into the project that I've been working on, got it all squashed back together, fixed as many little things as possible. There was a few block IDs changed, a lot of trees where there should have been scrap iron blocks and things like that. So there's a lot of the newer areas that are still quite rough, so to speak, but the hub itself, as you can see from the map, is actually starting to look like a proper city. So before we go into a proper tour, first, I'd just like to take a few minutes to explain to all the people who are watching for the first time, who are wondering what the hell a Slaanhatten is, well, basically, you're looking at it. Project Slaanhatten is something I started about 7 months ago now, thereabouts, which was basically a custom hub designed to spawn in random gen worlds that would just provide a bit more of a better sort of city in a more urban sort of style survival. I was always a big fan of the inner city gameplay, and there were the hotspots for loot, and it was a bit bland the way the current version of the game makes these cities in a square grid pattern. And we had things like the subway city blocks and the sewer systems and things like that, but with the up and coming socket system, I think, which is due for Alpha 16, the vanilla cities are probably going to change quite drastically. So this is probably the best you're going to get for a little while until we've had a chance to see this new socket thing and had a mess around with it. So it's very easy to install. All of the links will be in the description, and I'm getting hammered off Dropbox for the amount of downloads and for the size, so all of the downloads are now being shifted to the Northern Lan site itself. But like I say, the project, the links in the downloads will all be available in the description of this video and on the official forums and through the Northern Lan site and the blogs itself as I start to write them. So without much further ado, I'll zoom a little bit closer into the map and give you a quick overview of what's new. So if we start in the river area itself, the terraforming name is a dual sort of thing because I'm terraforming the map, and the zombies and the dangerous sort of presence within the city, things that can collapse, are starting to become a bit more apparent now. So the tower really is beginning to form, and the scariest thing of all is this is actually starting, if we ignore the outside area, to look reasonably, I don't want to say complete, but it's the most fitting word at the minute. The aim of this update, if I go into the game itself, was to start filling up the empty spaces. So things like the river were mostly by these horrible vertical stone walls, and I've just started on the south side here. But what you can see on the north side is we're very quickly starting to develop sort of nice little features, and I can almost picture some kind of little benches or sleeping bags being used to make look like towels where the sunbathers were. We'll get a couple of little stalls set up and flesh out this area with more shops and things like that, and it's just giving people more bang for the buck for the space that's being used out. Now, what you are seeing on the horizon is the new distant terrain, and distant terrain does exactly what it says on the tin. It draws distant terrain, but not prefabs. So, although the draw distance for the game itself is actually higher and further, I think what tends to happen is it looks, without the fade out effect that we used to get, it's either there's something there or there's nothing, and especially in sections in the hub that drop beneath ground level, you start to see these weird sort of walls and things like that. So that aside, the game itself is looking pretty decent. I'm on, I think, pretty much maxed out settings if we just jump in there. There you go. Other than the full screen, obviously, while I'm streaming. But performance is better now in the hub than what it's ever been, really. And I don't know if that's just attributed to the fact that we're not drawing as much in the distance, and you know, you've only got your immediate surroundings to worry about. But I don't know. I still prefer this version of the game to the old system. It's undeniably better, and I believe in future things like this can probably be worked on and made it look a lot nicer. So with that in mind, this is one of the new areas that's in the hub itself. I've been working on this for quite a while now. This is basically a little freight storage area. Now, you've got to use your imagination a little bit and picture like maybe a big red freight storage boat cranes to offload and unload the cargo and things like that. And unfortunately, all of these are still empty. However, the customs office in the middle, this is decked out in loot. Still basic, still needs a lot of work, but 15 was, I was expecting to have another couple of weeks, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't expecting to drop 15 today, and I think it's better that people just have a chance to play through and have a look, because at the end of the day, good feedback it makes everything so much better. So if you have any ideas, suggestions, you know, things that you like, things that you don't like, if I can do it and it's a decent sort of suggestion, then I probably will, because this is all about improving the hub and giving people the best sort of survival experience possible within the city sort of setting. And the steel factory itself, again, I've went wild with catwalks and all sorts of things all over the place, but it's starting to feel a lot more like a proper building. Actually, we'll just have a little nip through. There's a lot more loot in this. Nah, I'm losing myself because it's dark. But there's a lot more loot in here now. It's still a little bit rough. We've got a lot of empty space. Empty spaces are just the bane of my life at the minute. I just see them wherever I go. But slowly but surely, we are getting there. And what's going to be good about this this edition is I've made it a little more friendly for people who want to start building, or maybe have an idea for a particular spot. So if you look in the project download folder, you'll see the concept map. Actually, how about I just tab out here and we'll take a quick peek at that now, because for the people who don't ever download the project and are just watching the video to see what funky new stuff's going on in 7 days, you know, there's a lot of stuff in there that's worth having a look at. The credits for the people who've built individual buildings that I've used and all that sort of stuff, it's all in there. There's maps from older versions. You can see how the hub's been developed over the past 6-7 months. And now I cannot remember where I dumped all my stuff. There we go. And if I open the concept map there, where the hell's it gone? Oh god, it's all going crazy now. If you just bear with us for 2 seconds, and we'll get that onto that screen. And go on to there. Right, so I've roughly outlined what I'm doing in the hub. So as I've mentioned, if you look at the bottom here, many areas recently landscaped that are perfect plots to build on. Feel free to build on these areas and share your creations. Some might actually make it into the next release. Now, if you build something somewhere, if I just tab back into the game, and it's a good building, but I decide actually I don't like that there, don't fret. I will just simply pick it up, store it and put it somewhere else, or where I think it would look nice. I will warn you that I have final say over everything that goes into this, and please don't feel offended if I edit or change anything you might add. I build the city to how I think it looks right, and it's a project that's primarily there for myself and the players over at Northern Land to play through and use. That's why I developed it, but I love the idea that other people can just download and use it very easily and enjoy it the same that we do. And if you're going to help us make it better, then I'm all for that. And as you can see, it's ginormous now. I mean, if we come over to this side of the hub, all of these new residential, I mean, it's a tiled section of street, to be perfectly honest, but over time I will make little mini adjustments to each of these so that they'll all take on their own unique feel. But on the side note I just mentioned about people adding, it's places like this, you know, there's 3 or 4 little plots that are all exactly the same. You could stick a shop or a building in there, and if you've got an idea, then build it. Send us the links and we'll take a look. I'm already talking to Stallion's Den, who's been harassing us for ages now, and I can tell he's itching just to get something in here. So we're in talks about an airport, which truthfully it'll still be quite a while off. But what I can do is get the initial layout set up, and I've already got a couple of concept buildings from him, and once I've got a few more, it'll be enough to get a vague idea on the map itself of where it would go, where we would put things and all that sort of stuff. And once that sort of framework's in place, it's a lot easier for me to develop the idea more fully. And once it's in the project itself, it is extremely easy. If you're proficient with HAL's editor, you can make very big, very small, any kind of edits that you want to the hub itself with very little effort. So, like I say, don't be shy. If there's something that you've got that you want me to add to the hub, then, you know, send us the prefabs and I'll take a look at them and we'll get them in there. Because at this stage I'm more focused on filling out the initial area that I set out, but I'm always looking for new ideas or new content in particular to add in there. There's still a few sort of systems, things like the sewers, if I have a little look through. You know, it's all in there. It's very crude, it's very dark, and it's very laggy. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, you've got to bear with us, I'm on max settings, anti-aliasing, I'm live streaming, so I mean there's other stuff going on, so the frames themselves, it's not looking awesome, but it's not as bad as what you might actually think. The other thing to consider is we have two big buildings like this, which are jam-packed full of things. Oh, hello feral zombie. I don't know where he's come from. I wonder if I've triggered a wandering horde or something, and there's something going on that I can't see on the screen. I don't know. What we'll do is we'll just continue with the shaky little tour at the minute. But I've worked a lot more with the zombies. The entity spawners are in there from version 0.4.2. I haven't really made many changes in that department. Oh, there's zombies all over the place. Yeah, what's going on? It's not normally this. I wonder if it's just because I'm on my own and they think I'm an easy target with God mode on. Yeah, you can just take your puke and go and piss right off. And more zombies, yeah. So I mean, zombies is one particular area where your feedback's particularly welcome, because in a zombie apocalypse, naturally we expect to see lots of them, and in a city I would expect to see even more. I'll just pop down here. So as you can see, places like this, there's the sewers aren't fully complete, but it's all in there, and I've got 1,000,001 little ideas going on that are unfinished. But like I say, once they've been laid out, even in a basic form within the hub itself, it becomes a very easy affair to re-edit those parts of the hub. I find myself spending way too much time building original stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with original stuff, in fact I totally embrace the idea of originality, but when you're coming up with something brand new, you spend a lot more time just sitting, well, I do at least spend a lot more time just sitting there staring at a blank space, picturing all these different things, throwing a few blocks down. You know, is that the right direction that I'm going in? Do I like it? Let's add a little bit more. And then, you know, 2 weeks later you find you've got 3 or 4 different storage containers in a ginormous empty area, and you're like, right, what the hell's going on? Which is kind of the little mini story of what happened to the freight storage area. But with all these little prefabs that I'm building over time, all of a sudden, you know, I've got a crane, I've got a couple of concept ideas for a storage container. Let's bam, fill the area right out, and in the space of a day we've got a huge new section of city to play in. So it swings and roundabouts really. I can take the easy route of using other people's stuff and putting it where I think it's appropriate, but there's a few areas where I have ideas that there's just no prefabs made for them. I mean, like the airport itself, it's basically going to consist of, I don't know, a control tower, a main terminal building, and then maybe 2 to 3 different size hangars in a whole bunch of roads. And once they're all laid out, then we can start thinking, you know, right, let's get some baggage storage trains, which Stallion did make a version of, and although it's a little bit rough, I was quite impressed. It looks pretty cool. And it's just another idea of how other people messing around can really bring something into the game that you wouldn't have thought of, which once more is why it's really important that if you aren't going to build yourselves, get us some feedback, let us know what you want. And we'll come to the nasty part of the hub now. We'll just have a look around. So this is where it ends on the, if I get my compass bearing right, the western side. And this is probably the nastiest looking part of the hub now. I'm still not 100% sure on what to do with this area, other than that I am going to do something. But because of the way that I've been terraforming quite large sections of landscape, I might just give this the same sort of treatment that I've done for the new areas in this, and just get the base area set out, get some nice hills and you know, the city with nothing on it laid out for people to look at, and then maybe you folks can come along and say, oh, well, actually, Slaan, I've made this building to go there, you know, it fits in with the area, it's whatever, and I'll be, yeah, that's awesome, let's get it in there. And then you've just saved me a whole bunch of time, and the hub is just grown by X, Y, and Z. So like I say, if there's something that's missing, just give us a shout. I'm a reasonable person, and although my English isn't the best, being from the northeast, well, you know, we can type to each other if the accent is the problem. I mean, not that I get many complaints, but I know that sometimes I speak a little bit too fast and can be a little bit hard to understand. So again, we've got big empty sections, which are still quite rough. But I don't know, the hub itself now, this update itself just feels like I took a massive step closer to finishing something. So if I have a quick look at it over around there. One thing I should add, which I've done for this version, because I know that on a multiplayer game and a dedicated server we have a little problem where in the multiplayer, it seems to be that when somebody who isn't the host connects to the game and enters an area, the hub, that hasn't been generated by the host, it seems to cause some kind of little desync error that stops the map from generating, your cursor disappears, usually ends with a big whole bunch of red null messages in the console box, and basically requires the host and anybody who experiences the bug to restart the game, which is absolutely no good whatsoever. But Cyborg, a guy from the forums, got back to us with a pretty good workaround that works flawlessly every single time. I'm not 100% sure for multiplayer. I imagine that the steps and the method would be the same, but just on your local machine instead of the dedicated. But the workaround on the dedicated server itself works perfectly fine. I've used it numerous times. Every time the Northern Land live server gets updated or reset, I use the exact same techniques to set that up, and you can view our server map from the web page and see exactly what I've done. You know, don't be daunted and think that, oh my god, that city's massive and awesome and it's going to be so hard to get on. It's not. You copy and paste prefabs into your folder, you're adding my mixer to your game. That's, like, in a nutshell, the method of putting it on. And you get all of this. That isn't anything. There's not another custom hub in the game. There's no prefabs that even come close to the scale of what we have achieved, because like I say, everything from skate parks that the Fun Pimps made and the stucco housing that the Fun Pimps made to these lovely little playground areas which are actually ripped out of one of Magoli's prefabs from the compo pack, to things like the baseball ground which was from the compo pack. This is another person that does Loaf Dog's Stadium. There's probably a lot more people who've had fingers in this pie than what you actually realise. So for the 15th time already, if you've got prefabs, if you've got a cool build that you've made on survival, Christ, I'll take region files. You don't even have to extract the stuff. If you've got a decent enough build, I will do all of the hard work for you and, you know, get it in here and make it own. I like to think that I'm just preserving people's works in a way that the vanilla game itself cannot achieve. I mean, the road system on its own, the highway, there's just so much going on, and we had a massive blast playing through it on the Northern Land server. The last time it was just all the empty spaces really. On a live game, it's a bit, I don't know, for lack of a better word, shite. So, now that I've rambled on for absolutely ages, much longer than what I thought to, we'll just do a quick recap. All the downloads, all the links will be available on the official thread and on the Northern Land site itself. We've looked at the new areas, we've talked about the server pack. I think that's this tour pretty much almost done. I like to have a fly around just to give you a look at what's happening, and just to let you know that this at the minute is a local hosted multiplayer game of which I am the only player, and it works. You know, I've had a few comments in the past, Slaan, this doesn't work, and it's like, look, it does work. I don't blame people for not maybe getting and understanding how to set it up and all that sort of stuff. It took me ages, absolutely ages, just to wrap my head around using Halzada to make a basic box house and extract it out of the game. So by no means do I expect anybody and everybody just to be instant prefab wizards, but for decent content and decent prefabs, I will do as much of the muscle work as possible to try and get people's stuff into the game. If in particular, if we look at the map again, because the whole area that I'm running in now basically uses Lasman's brownstone housing, and I see this as the middle class, more central to the city kind of residential. Whereas if we go back over to the, right, as I called it in the blog, the Diazville on steroids, you know, you've got the same sort of density in a slightly different way, but it has a total different feel, and both areas are literally made out of about half a dozen prefabs each. So even if you wanted to come up with a different style of housing, make 2 or 3 versions, and you know, we'll get a couple of different shops that I haven't used anywhere else, we'll get a couple of other amenities added in there, and it becomes a very simple affair to create a whole new residential area, or a whole new, more realistic looking, you know, section of the city. Because at its heart, I think that's what wins with Slaanhatten, is the fact that everything's still at 90-degree angles, but you know, you see things a little bit more how they would be, and you can kind of forgive the fact that, oh my god, everything's sort of square, when you can still look on the map and see curves and, you know, interesting little shapes. And come on, you know, the map is really starting to look awesome now, and you've got to understand, this area is absolutely gigantic. The perimeter road itself is 1521 by 1521 blocks, and I would like to think I am not going to extend the hub past this border. What I would like to do is use this space, in particular I've left a lot of area here because, like I mentioned earlier, this part of the city really needs some work to be brought down to ground level. But basically this space around the outside that's empty is, once the centre's a bit more complete, I'm going to use this space to blend the hub off. You know, it's going to be where it'll fade off into wilderness, and that should be a nice transition from, you know, the wilderness building up into the heart of the city itself. So, I've mentioned everything, I've talked about everything. I just want to say a big thank you to Paul Scan, who plays on our local server. I keep forgetting to mention the fact that he donated, but he did send a donation. And I don't say this because I expect people to donate, but you know, he can take some small comfort knowing that one night while I was building Slaanhatten, he paid for me Dominoes and me ice cream and put a smile on my face. It was absolutely awesome. So Paul, big thank you goes to you, and I promise, I haven't decided what yet, but I do think that you deserve some kind of, not a monument, but you know, we may name it a train station, I might name one of the cargo ships, but I will get your name into Slaanhatten where it deserves to be. You're a big inspiration, you're a very positive person who's always harassing us to, you know, what's going on and what's next and how's Slaanhatten doing, and it's awesome. I really do love the fact that people show as much interest as what they do. Now I think we've had enough eye candy, and I'm sure by this point you are absolutely itching to download and give it a shot. So hopefully within the next few weeks we will see things like the storage area that we were shown earlier on, and a few of the landscape areas pick up a bit more loot and get a bit more fleshed out, and hopefully we'll start working on adding some totally new stuff. So until then, feel free to drop some comments, feel free to subscribe and like. 59 subscribers now, I would love to make it 60 by the end of the week, that would be awesome. Thank you very much for the feedback and for those people who are downloading the project and helping us make it better, and I shall see you next time.